Pag-uusapan natin ngayon yung connection between cognitive psychology and mental health. First things first, yung mental health, pareho lang yan sa mental wellness. I mean, if you read the literature on mental health, interchangeably, nagpapalit-palit ng terms yan eh. Minsan mental health, minsan mental wellness, but basically, they are the same thing. So in this video, pagpapalit-palitin ko yung usage ko ng mga words na yan. No? So when I say mental health, it's the same as mental wellness. Pero let's dig deeper. What does it mean to be mentally well or to be mentally healthy? Kapag sinabi mo na, alam mo, one of the things I like about myself, I'm mentally well. Or alam mo, ipag-pray natin si kapatid na ganito kasi hindi okay yung kanyang mental health. No, what does that mean? Basically, kung tatagalogin mo yung mentally well or mentally healthy, ang ibig sabihin yan, masiglang pag-iisip. So kapag sinabi mong mentally well ka o maganda ang mental health mo, sinasabi mo na masigla yung pag-iisip mo. So, anong ibig sabihin kapag masigla yung pag-iisip mo? Parang katawan lang yan, di ba? Pag sinabi mong masigla ang pangangatawan mo, ibig sabihin, all your body parts are functioning well. Nakakapag-function ka ng maayos sa pang-araw-araw. Walang problema yung puso mo, wala kang sipon, wala kang lagnat, wala kang trangkaso, wala kang virus, wala kang bakterya, kasi masigla yung iyong pangangatawan. You apply that principle sa pag-iisip. When you say masigla ang pag-iisip mo, anong ibig sabihin yan? We need to ask the experts, di ba? Yung mga experts sa mental wellness, yung mga association na ito, mentalhealth.gov and American Psychological Association. If you ask them, there are two criteria daw na pwede nating matignan para masabi mo that a person is mentally healthy. Number one, kapag yung tao, yung overall feeling niya is positive. Ibig sabihin yung number of negative emotions na nararanasan ng isang tao, basically mababa. Mas marami siyang positive feelings more than negative. And by the way, itong positive feeling na ito, dapat pareho ito sa self and other people. You love yourself, you value yourself, you accept yourself, di ba? Wala kang mental distress, hindi ka depressed, hindi ka anxious. Okay, pero dapat okay din yung relationship mo with other people. So you don't have problems with other people and other people don't have problems with you. Maayos yung pakikitungo mo sa kapitbahay mo, sa iyong mga kaibigan, 'di ba? Overall sa community mo, kapag narinig nila yung pangalan mo, gusto ka naman nila. So, yun yung unang criteria for mental wellness. Mas marami kang positive emotions na nararamdaman compared to negative emotions when it comes to yourself and your relationship with other people. And number two, yung pangalawang criteria is meron kang or absent ka sa any form of mental disorders. You have an absence of any mental disorders. Ibig sabihin, wala ka sa DSM-5. Kung titignan natin yung thinking patterns mo, feeling patterns, behavioral patterns mo, wala kang mga patterns na matatagpuan sa DSM-5. And for the psych majors, you know what DSM-5 is, di ba? Ito yung Manual of Mental Illnesses. So basically, all mental illnesses known to man dito nakalagay sa DSM-5. So kapag wala ka naman dyan, wala ka naman pinapakitang mga symptoms, no? Anywhere in the DSM-5, then that means that is an indicator that you are mentally well. And one more thing about mental wellness or mental health, kinakailangan or this is something that we can measure. This is something that we can measure. Hindi ito purely subjective. Yung tingin mo lang, gaano ka mentally well. Tingin mo, si paring ganito, gaano siya ka-mentally well. Pwede nating sukatin kung gaano ka mentally well using, of course, standardized test. One example of standardized test na nakakapag-measure ng mental wellness is the WHO AIMS. Diba? Ibig sabihin ng AIMS Assessment Instrument for Mental Health Systems. So if you want to know how mentally well you are, you can take this instrument. At hindi lang ito, no? Hindi lang ito yung instrument that we can use. Marami pang mga available instruments out there that we can use to estimate a person's overall mental wellness. Pero hindi lang nga ito. Okay? And the thing is, we can measure mental wellness. Hindi lang yan puro tansya-tansya lang. We can be objective about this. Now, let's talk about the relationship between mental health and cognitive psychology. Now we have a clear understanding of what mental wellness or mental health is. Ano ngayon ang connection nito sa cognitive psychology, di ba? Actually, sabi ng mga cognitive psychologists, malaki ang connection ng cognition mo sa iyong mental health. And when we talk about cognition, there are two cognitive processes na talagang malaki ang kinalaman sa outcome ng mental health mo. And what are those two cognitive processes? Meron tayong belief system or what you consider to be true at meron din tayong reasoning, how you process information. So again, yung belief system, pati yung reasoning, these are all processes of the mind. Under yan sa proseso ng tinatawag nating cognition. Belief system and reasoning. Again, yung belief system, ano yung mga bagay that you consider to be true? Reasoning, paano mo pinoproseso yung mga information from your environment. Pareho itong proseso under cognition. So, sinasabi nga ng mga cognitive psychologists, your mental health greatly depends on your beliefs and your reasoning skills. Actually, itong dalawang ideas na ito, no, very much developed by these two cognitive psychologists. Maraming mga cognitive psychologists, mga therapists din di ba? These are the people who try to apply the principles of cognitive psychology to mental health. We have Aaron Beck and Albert Ellis. So again, there are cognitive psychologists who are applying principles in cognitive psychology para mapaganda ang mental health ng mga tao. So, according to Albert Ellis, si Albert Ellis dito yung nasa kanan, no? Si Aaron Beck dito yung nasa kaliwa. Ang sinasabi ni Albert Ellis is, our mental health greatly depends on our belief systems. Diba? Kaya raw tayo nagkakaroon ng poor mental health. Maraming mga tao, they have irrational belief systems. And so, in the research of Albert Ellis, sa matagal niyang pagiging therapist, he was able to identify, naturo niya yung mga 11 irrational beliefs na kapag meron ka niyan, most likely you will suffer from poor mental health. Okay, magkakaroon ka ng anxiety disorder, madidepress ka sa sarili mo, you will have thoughts of suicide, you are not okay with other people. Again, bakit ka ganun? Bakit magiging ganun yung mental health mo? Kasi nga, meron kang mga irrational beliefs. All in all, according to Ellis, meron daw yung 11, pero after the work of Ellis, yung mga estudyante niya, dinagdagan pa yan ng dinagdagan. But at least, itong 11 na ito, these are the foundations of irrational beliefs. So kung ayaw mong magkaroon ng poor mental health, gusto mong ma-improve yung health ng iyong mental life, you need to get rid of any of these 11 irrational beliefs na pinaniniwalaan mo. At yun yung binabago kapag nagko-cognitive therapy ka. 'Di ba? Kaya nga meron tayong REBT on the slide, no, Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. Ang pinaka-goal niyan is binabago natin yung mga irrational beliefs mo to make it more rational. Iba naman yung sinasabi ni Aaron Beck pero related, no? Sabi ni Aaron Beck, people become depressed. Again, depression is an indication of poor mental health. People become depressed because mali yung kanilang pagproseso ng mga information. Yan yung tinatawag ni Aaron Beck na faulty reasoning. And there are many ways on how to apply faulty reasoning. Nag-identify din si Aaron Beck ng iba't ibang klase ng faulty reasoning tulad ng selective abstraction, minimization, personalization, arbitrary inference, magnification, overgeneralization, at marami pang iba. If you want to learn more about each one of this, you can just research on this on your own. Pero what do they have in common? Lahat yan, kapag ganyan ka mag-isip, again, these are not beliefs, no? These are not beliefs but ways of thinking. Kapag ganito ka mag-isip, most likely, your mental health will suffer. Kaya kapag pumunta ka kay Aaron Beck, tapos may ganyan kang problema, ang gagawin niya, i-reverse niya yung ganyang pattern of thinking mo and he will make it healthier para bumaba yung iyong mga symptoms of poor mental health. Okay, so yun yung application of cognitive psychology sa ating mental health. In fact, kung titignan mo rin yung mga direct quotation na sinasabi ni Ellis and Beck, kitang-kita mo talaga yung kanilang philosophy that our cognition highly depends or highly affects our mental wellness. Sabi ni Albert Ellis, if you would really stop damning yourself, others, and unkind conditions, you would find it almost impossible to upset yourself emotionally about anything. Yes, anything. 'Di ba? Kasi karamihan ng mga tao meron silang ganyang belief no? Yung feeling mo lahat kasalanan mo. 'Di ba? Feeling mo lahat ng masamang nangyayari meron kang kinalaman doon or ikaw ang nag-cause nun. So that's one of the irrational beliefs na sinasabi ni Albert Ellis na dapat baguhin. Sabi naman ni Aaron Beck, cognitive therapy seeks to alleviate, ibig sabihin pababain, alleviate psychological stresses by what? Correcting faulty conceptions and self-signals. By correcting erroneous beliefs, we can lower excessive reactions. So again, si Ellis at saka si Beck, they always go to your cognition to improve your mental health. At dito pa lang, meron na tayong magandang bagay na dapat ma-realize when it comes to ourselves, no? Yung dapat aware tayo, conscious tayo sa kung papaano tayo mag-isip or kung ano yung mga iniisip natin. Because if there is one message that Ellis and Beck are telling us right now, it is that malaki pala ang kinalaman natin, no? Tayo mismo, mga tao, pagdating sa ating mental health. Kasi merong mga dominant na mga models dyan saying na ang mental health ng tao is just an outcome of our environment. 'Di ba? Hindi totoo yan in the eyes of cognitive psychology. Malaki ang ating role sa pagdetermine ng ating mental health. It really depends on the way you reason out or the way you process information around you or the way or what are the things that you believe about yourself. Pero ang magandang balita dyan is how you reason out yung mga paniniwala mo about the world and about yourself, mga bagay yan na kontrolado mo eh. Yes, these two can be influenced by the environment, but we are not the puppets of our environment. Meron pa rin tayong agency na tinatawag, meron tayong kapangyarihan na talagang mag-determine kung ano yung paniniwalaan natin or kung papaano tayo mag-iisip. Kaya nga yung mental health natin, that is greatly our responsibility. Kung ano mang level ng mental wellness o ng mental health mo ngayon, malaki ang kinalaman ng sarili mo dyan. Okay? So, at in a way, meron tayong conscious control kung gaano tayo ka-mentally healthy. Huwag tayong sisi ng sisi sa environment o sa ibang tao because our mental wellness, malaki ang kinalaman yan sa ating personal efforts. No? So again, ang sinasabi lang dito ng cognitive psychology is kapag naayos mo yung irrational beliefs mo, kapag naayos mo yung faulty reasoning mo, it will greatly improve your mental health. And the reverse is true. Kapag wala kang ginagawa, lahat ng irrational beliefs pinaniniwalaan mo, tapos faulty ang reasoning mo, yun ang nagpapababa sa mental health mo. Madagdag ko lang, no, related din yung faulty reasoning tsaka irrational beliefs. Usually, yung irrational beliefs, nagsisimula yan sa faulty reasoning. Dahil mali ang pag-iisip mo about the world, ang nangyayari, nanganganak yan ng mga irrational beliefs. At dyan na nagsisimula yung pagbagsak ng iyong mental health. So after all these things that we learned about cognitive psychology and mental health, bigyan ko lang kayo ng mga short examples of applications ng mga concepts na ito, no, na pinag-usapan natin. Halimbawa, how do you treat anger? No? Yung mga tao na excessive yung anger, don't get me wrong, no? Hindi sakit ang magkaroon ng galit because that's a natural human emotion. Pero yung uncontrollable anger, yung nag-undergo ng mga anger management program, how do you help them using cognitive psychology? Well, ang ginagawa dyan is tinitignan muna natin yung kanilang mga belief systems o yung kanilang mga reasoning processes that leads them to be angry. So, ang gagawin dyan, kakausapin mo yung kliyente o yung pasyente, tapos tatanungin mo ano yung mga iniisip mo bago ka magalit. Kasi 'di ba yung ating emotion, yung ating feelings of anger, nagsisimula yan sa thoughts. Imposibleng pagising mo galit ka na. Meron kang naisip na mga bagay na nagpagalit sa iyo. So in therapy, ang gagawin natin diyan is we are going to identify those statements, those ideas na nagpagalit sa iyo. And then from there, i-challenge natin o papalitan natin yung mga thinking patterns mo para mag-improve yung behavior. 'Di ba? Isa kasi yan sa mga foundation principles of cognitive psychology. If you are able to change the way you think, magpa-follow dyan yung behavior mo. So, kung gusto mong magbago yung behavior mo, palitan mo kung paano ka mag-isip. Diba? That's one of the most basic foundation of cognitive therapy. Isa pang example, yung insecurity. O halimbawa, meron kang pasyente, hindi niya makontrol yung selos niya and it's affecting the relationship big time. Kasi masyadong insecure yung babae, di ba? So, paano mo tutulungan yung isang pasyente na masyadong mataas yung insecurity sa relationship? Again, cognitive psychology, we go back to cognition. Ano ba kasi yung mga pinaniniwalaan mo that leads you to feel jealousy? 'Di ba? Again, hindi naman yan paggising mo, selos ka na eh. Meron mo nang nangyayari sa environment mo, tapos nakita mong nangyari yon, meron ka ngayong mga inisip. 'Di ba? Meron ka mga inisip kung bakit nangyari yon. Yung pag-iisip mo na yon, yun ngayon yung naging dahilan kung bakit mo na-feel yung pagsiselo. So we go back to the belief of this patient. Where is this coming from? Saan nanggagaling yung insecurity mo? Yun naman pala kasi naniniwala siya na hindi ko siya mapagkakatiwalaan. 'Di ba? Meron siyang basic belief na ang mga lalaki manloloko. Yung boyfriend ko lalaki, therefore manloloko din siya. That's why hindi ako mapakali sa kanya, hindi ako at peace sa kanya because anytime this guy, pwede niya akong lokohin. Yun yung belief system niya. Doon nang gagaling yung kanyang insecurity. So again, what do we do in therapy? We are going to challenge that. We are going to more or less change that type of thinking para mag-improve yung kanyang behavior. Kasi the only way na talagang magbabago yung kanyang behavior, yung mababawasan ng big time yung selos niya, is kapag nagbago yung pananaw niya sa lalaki o nagbago yung pananaw niya doon sa boyfriend niya, di ba? So, ang goal natin mula dito, hindi ko siya mapagkakatiwalaan, kinakailangan natin siyang turuan na palitan yung paniniwala na yan to become like this. Mapagkakatiwalaan ko siya. Diba? Pero ang tanong, sir, paano ba ginagawa yun? How do you change a person's belief system? Mula dito, hindi ko siya mapagkakatiwalaan, paano mo papalitan yan sa mapagkakatiwalaan mo siya? Diba? Ang sagot dyan, yan na ang ginagawa natin sa cognitive therapy. Merong mga merong mga steps yan, merong mga proseso yan, merong mga techniques na ginagawa dyan. Kaya nga, if you are a major in clinical psychology in grad school, meron ka talagang separate subject for therapy techniques, specifically cognitive therapy. Napaka-specialized na therapeutic approach ito, no, in helping people to improve their psychological life. But ang pinaka-purpose, ang pinaka-goal lang ng cognitive therapy, dalawa, no? Una, ang ginagawa natin sa cognitive therapy is ina-identify muna natin yung mga activating events o yung mga antecedents na tinatawag that leads to your faulty reasoning or to your irrational beliefs. Kasi yung mga beliefs mo, na-activate lang yan. Hindi laging active yan eh. 'Di ba? Meron lang mga pagkakataon or mga moments na kapag nangyari yung moments na yon, doon mo maiisip yung mga irrational beliefs mo. So ang ginagawa, ang unang approach, we identify the activating events and then tuturuan ka ng therapist na iwasan or gawan ng paraan para hindi mo ma-experience yung mga activating events. Pero yung approach na yan, that's very preventive, 'di ba? Parang hindi mo inaayos yung ugat ng problema, although it can help, 'di ba? It can help naman na umiwas ka na lang sa mga situations na makaka-activate ng negative belief systems mo. Pero another approach that we do in cognitive therapy is we challenge your faulty cognition or your irrational beliefs, di ba? So dito, iniwasan natin yung nagpapa-negative sa'yo. Pero dito, sa second approach, i-challenge ko yung pag-iisip mo na hindi ka dapat ganyan mag-isip, na yung belief system mo, hindi totoo yan. Hindi totoo yung pinaniniwalaan mong negative about other people or about the world, di ba? So going back dun sa example ko kanina, i-challenge natin yung belief ng babaeng ito, no, na hindi niya mapagkakatiwalaan yung boyfriend niya. Hahanap tayo ng mga counter evidences para mapatunayan sa babaeng ito na hindi totoo, na hindi mapagkakatiwalaan yung boyfriend niya. Kasi oras na makita nung patient na yung kanyang beliefs ay walang basis, no? Or hindi siya ganun katotoo, that's the time na mababago mo yung kanyang pag-iisip, and therefore the behavior will also improve. 'Di ba? Again, meron niyang mga steps, no? Meron mga steps sa ginagawa diyan para mabago mo yung faulty reasoning o yung belief system ng patient mo. Oo, eto magandang example ito, no? Meron ditong automatic thought record. 'Di ba? Binibigyan din kasi sa cognitive therapy ng mga assignments yung mga pasyente. And usually the assignments revolve around people being more aware of what they're thinking. 'Di ba? Isa rin 'yan sa mga foundation ideas ng cognitive therapy. Dapat aware ka kung paano ka mag-isip, aware ka kung ano yung mga iniisip mo. Kaya yung mga assignments na binibigay sa kanila is more or less it's forcing them to really take notes of what they are thinking. Tapos, yung papel na yan, na fill upan nila, let's say for 1 week, dadalhin nila yan sa mga therapist nila. And then the therapist will analyze kung paano sila mag-isip given what were written in this exercise. So usually ganyan yung ginagawa sa cognitive therapy. Now, whenever teach this idea on how cognitive therapy is done, 'di ba? Maraming estudyante nagtatanong sa akin, pwede ko bang gawing therapist yung sarili ko? 'Di ba? Ang sagot diyan, pwede naman. Ang problema lang is meron pa ring tendency na magiging bias ka. O kaya merong mga tendency na meron kang mga blind spots. 'Di ba? Ibig sabihin ng blind spots yung meron kang mga patterns of thinking na mali, pero in the first place hindi mo alam na mali pala 'yon kasi hindi ka naman nag-cognitive psychology eh. Hindi ka naman nag-cognitive therapy. So hindi mo alam na mali pala yung ganong pag-iisip mo. 'Di ba? So although pwede mo namang gawin ng sarili 'to, 'di ba? You can take notes of the things that you are thinking and then critique your negative thinking, 'di ba? Mas maganda pa rin na meron kang professional na lalapitan. Kasi yung professional na yon, alam niya yung mga right steps, right sequence of steps na gagawin mo to deal with your negative thinking. Mas maganda pa rin na meron ka talagang professional therapist. Tsaka yung therapist na kakausapin mo, maiispatan niya yung mga blind spots mo, no? Na ito yung ganito ka mag-isip at alam mo yung way na yan kung paano ka mag-isip, mali yan. 'Di ba? So hindi mo magagawa 'yan kung sarili mo lang yung nagiging therapist mo. Ang magandang example dito, parang ano 'yan eh. Parang paggugupit ng buhok. 'Di ba? Pwede mo bang gupitan yung sarili mo? Pwede naman. Pero marami kang mga perspective sa ulo mo na hindi mo makikita, therefore hindi magiging maayos yung gupit mo. Hindi mo makikita yung buhok mo sa likod, yung buhok mo dito sa kanto ng ulo mo kasi ang hirap makita kapag sarili mo lang yung gumagawa. So kapag may barbero ka na gumagawa sa'yo, that barber can see all the perspectives in your head. Mas magiging maganda yung paggupit. Ganun din sa cognitive therapy, no? Kapag meron kang professional na kausap, mas nakikita niya yung mga different perspectives ng thinking mo which can further help you improve your thinking processes. 'Di ba? At saka, ito pa, ihabol ko lang, no? According to research ng mga cognitive psychologists, ang mga therapy na gunagamitan ng cognitive orientation, mas nagiging effective pala yan kapag ginagawa in group setting. Kaya tayo may tinatawag na group therapy. And this is again a separate subject that you study in grad school. Kapag clinical psychology ka, dapat marunong kang magpatakbo ng therapy kapag grupo ang iyong hinahawakan. And do you know this approach of involving other people in cognitive therapy, it's very biblical, 'di ba? Sabi ng 1 Thessalonians 5:11, therefore, encourage one another and build each other up. Kasi sa psychology, no, mas nagiging motivated yung mga tao to improve themselves if they see that there are also other people within the group who are doing the same. Mas ginaganahan tayong baguhin yung ating mga sarili kapag sama-sama, no? Kapag sama-sama tayong ginagawa yung pag-improve sa mga sarili natin. So, group therapy is a very accepted approach in the field of cognitive therapy. And it is very biblical. Alright? And speaking of the Bible, kasi nga, alam nyo ba, yung cognitive psychology, marami siyang overlap ideas na sinasabi na ng Bible. And what's amazing about this is the Bible, dahil nauna ang Bible kumpara sa cognitive psychology, nakaka-amaze lang na maraming sinasabi yung biblical text na na-confirm lang later on ng formal science such as cognitive psychology. In fact, maraming mga key ideas ang cognitive psychology, you can trace it back to what the Bible is saying. And this is again yung connection ng biblical teaching sa cognitive psychology. It is founded by many researches. Marami ng mga pag-aaral na nagpapakita na ang mga tao talaga na malaki ang part sa kanila ng biblical teachings, more or less, no? Very much related to their mental health. Mas nagiging maganda ang mental health ng tao kapag nag-a-apply sila ng mga biblical principles. So, you can just read these studies on your own. Marami ng mga pag-aaral ang nagawa dyan. The relationship between Christian spirituality and our mental health. So, marami na talagang mga studies that prove on that relationship. Kasi kung titignan mo yung approach ng Bible, yung mga commandments na pinapagawa sa mga readers, alam nyo, mapapansin ninyo, maraming iniuutos yung Bible, may kinalaman sa kung paano dapat tayo mag-isip. And specifically, kung titignan mo yung mga katuruan, yung mga teaching sa Biblia, in terms of how we should think, maraming tinuturo yung Bible na nag-overcome sa ating thinking errors. 'Di ba? Oo, yung mga inuutos sa Bible, marami diyan talaga are designed by God Himself. Kasi siya mismo yung nagsalita dyan. Siya nga gumawa ng mind, di ba? Marami siyang sinasabi na talagang ang goal ng mga sinasabi niya dyan is to change the way we think. Palitan yung ating mga thinking errors. Like for example, Philippians 4:8. Whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, you think about such things. Ang tinuturo lang ng Philippians 4:8 huwag tayong magwalo, huwag tayong magreminis ng mga pangit. Sure, merong mga masasamang nangyayari sa atin but we should not stay there. 'Di ba? After mong maisip yung mga pangit, yung mga kulang, yung mga hindi magaganda, i-transfer mo kaagad yung thoughts mo sa mga magaganda. True, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, anything that is excellent and praiseworthy, yun dapat yung laman ng cognition mo. O, sinasabi rin yan sa cognitive therapy. Another example, yung sa Romans. Not only this, but we also rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance, proven character, and proven character, hope. Ibig sabihin, kapag meron kang isang negative na bagay sa harap mo, it is your choice how you will see that something. Choice mo kung pananatilihin mo bang negative yung tingin mo dyan or gagawin mong positive. 'Di ba? Such as suffering. Halimbawa, wala kang pera o kaya nagbigla ka, nagkasakit. It's actually your choice how you will assign meaning to the illness o doon sa idea na wala kang pera, 'di ba? Are you going to see that as a motivating event to motivate yourself to improve your life, or will you see that event as something bad that will lead you to feel self-pity? Choice mo 'yan. 'Di ba? Choice mo kung ang tingin mo sa isang suffering maganda o pangit. Tinuturo 'yan ng Romans, no? Na dapat daw ang tingin mo sa mga seemingly negative things maganda. Consider sufferings as what? Something positive. To the point that you rejoice kapag merong suffering. Bakit ka magre-rejoice kapag may suffering? Kasi alam mo na kapag nilakasan mo yung loob mo at nalampasan mo yung suffering na yan, it will build in you character. Mas magi-improve kang tao. Mas madedevelop kang may mga madedevelop kang mga traits and qualities that will make you a better person. O alam nyo ba, sa Bible, tinuturo din yung mindfulness. 'Di ba? Yung mindfulness, we focus on the present. Hindi tayo masyadong nagpapaapekto sa mga thoughts natin. Hindi tayo nagwawalo sa mga negative. Especially negative things that may happen in the future or negative things that happened in the past. 'Di ba? Ang gagawin natin, yung mind natin, present lang muna sa ngayon. 'Di ba? Kasi if there is one moment in time na meron pa lang tayo, yung ngayon. 'Di ba? Yung nakalipas, wala na 'yon. Yung sa hinaharap, wala pa yon, wala pa sa atin. So we focus on the present. And what did Jesus say about focusing on the present? So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. 'Di ba? Yung basic principle na tinuturo dito ni Jesus in Matthew 6:34, iyan yung pinaka-foundation ng practice of mindfulness. So the Bible also teaches mindfulness. 'Di ba? So yung lahat ng examples ko na yan, I hope can make you realize na there is really a strong connection between cognitive psychology and our mental health. And one of the good news na natutunan natin for today is tayo pala, malaki ang responsibility natin, malaki ang control natin sa ating cognition that will determine our mental health. So kung gusto mong mag-improve yung mental health mo, dapat ayusin mo kung paano ka mag-isip at kung ano yung mga bagay na iniisip mo. And again, uulit-ulitin ko, kung paano ka mag-isip, kung ano yung mga iniisip mo, that is within your control. Huwag tayong sisi ng sisi sa government, huwag tayong sisi ng sisi sa parents natin, huwag tayong sisi ng sisi sa past natin because a very large chunk of our cognitive processes, tayo ang may conscious control dyan. At huwag din natin kalilimutan na ang Bible, hindi natin dapat ini-echapwera sa field of science. Because as you saw in my previous examples, maraming sinasabi ang Bible na talagang na-confirm na ng mga scientific researches in cognitive psychology. The more we need to respect the Bible in terms of its ability to make our mental health better. So sana marami kayong natutunan sa ating topic ngayon on cognitive psychology and mental health. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, God bless.